TestDirectly. So this is where we house all of your students and faculty members and sometimes parents' information for creating tests, inputting the order, printing labels, and viewing results. So we do ask that all the schools try their best to collect insurance information for these tests. The parents or caregivers, they can sign into TestDirectly. We'll give you a link that is specific to your school. Once they sign in and create an account, they link their dependents to that account, and then they enter in their insurance information if they have it. If they don't have insurance, then they simply say that they attest to not having insurance, and we move on from there. We can also do all this on site if a student has not, or a student's parent has not registered on TestDirectly for your school. We can still administer a test if they've signed a consent form. So this shows you what it looks like when you first log on to TestDirectly. To find a patient, you'll go into patient search, enter the patient's last name. Once you've entered in the last name, you click on refresh and it'll pull up that patient's information. To create an actual order, after you have selected that patient's name, you'll simply right click on that record and select new order. It will pull up that the patient information, and you scroll all the way down to the very bottom. Everything else will be auto-populated for you once they're in the system. And then we find payment source. Now, payment source is where you will enter the insurance information. We either have new insured, new uninsured, or insurance bypass. We'll get into that in a minute. If you do select new insurance, it'll give you a drop down of many different insurance companies. Obviously, you select the one that they're insured with, enter in the corresponding information. For most students, obviously, you're going to have to select child, right? Because it's most likely a parent's insurance that they're under. I will say this really quick. If somebody has already registered themselves online, you will never have to even touch this. They'll own that account. All you have to do is just search the name and boom, everything will auto-populate. It's incredibly simple. But if it is a brand new patient for you, you will have to go through these steps. Patients who do not have insurance or do not wish to provide insurance, they must attest to not having it. If they do not have insurance, it'll give them a drop down like to collect either a state ID, a social security number, or there's another option that says no ID. We're not going to not test people because they don't want to give you their ID. The insurance bypass feature on TestDirectly and for our lab and even for the state is meant for those who may not have enough information in the system, meaning they haven't created a TestDirectly account or they've never been tested before, and you try to get in touch with the parent or guardian and you're just not able to. Most of the time when students come into the nurse's lounge and they're not feeling well and you want to test them, one of the first things you do is you call a parent or guardian, right? If for some reason you can't get a hold of that child's parent or guardian, there is an option, if they've consented to testing, there is an option for doing the test without entering insurance information or without saying no insurance, and it's the insurance bypass. Now, that is meant not to be used all the time. It's meant for if you can't get a hold of anybody to ask about insurance information, you can use this insurance bypass option. If you want to run a report on students or their families, their households who have or have not filled out or registered on TestDirectly, there is a report you can run. And this is it's quite simple. You just select patient search, filter drop down, no complete insurance or uninsured payment, and then you use that refresh button at the bottom right. So if you have a smaller school, 500 students or less, this is a really great tool, especially if you've sent it out to all of your families and asked them to register on TestDirectly. You can figure out which ones have already entered in all their information. And if they haven't, maybe you can send them a reminder.